Hello and welcome to Writing with Steve. In this video we're exploring Gwendolyn Brooks' famous poem We Real Cool. I will unpack the poem, analyse its themes, language and structure and provide a line by line summary. Like all the videos I post, they are aimed at those interested in writing and literature. If you're preparing for an assignment or an exam, these videos aim to help you understand and appreciate the poem. Before we start, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, it would be great if you would. It costs nothing to subscribe and it keeps the channel running. Many thanks. I have the poem here, so let's start. The Pool Players, 7 at the Golden Shovel. We real cool, we left school, we lurk late, we strike straight, we sing sin, we thin gin, we jazz June, we die soon. After watching this video, I strongly recommend that you listen to Brooks read her own poem. It's fascinating. I've dropped a link below. So let's start to explore the poem. The poem's narrator describes a group of young dropouts who are wasting their lives in a pool hall rather than attend school. On its surface, the poem implies that in pursuing this lifestyle, the youths are squandering their lives and their futures. Their lifestyle, consisting of drinking liquor, gin, and acting cool, being macho, invites trouble, which she predicts will lead to their early deaths. We die soon. Although the sex of the speakers is not explicitly referred to, we may assume it is a group of young men, and indeed in subsequent interviews Brooks said this was so. But the poem has universal application to all teenage tearaways, whether male or female. The tension between glamour and danger is central to the poem. I mention the poem's surface because its tone is ambiguous. It can be interpreted in several ways, and we'll be looking at these several interpretations later. The speaker might be sarcastic and mocking in her tone, but she's likely mournful as well about the young men's short lives, which she predicts will end soon. There is pathos in this poem. We Real Cool begins with a subtitle that sets the scene for the poem. The title is important in understanding the poem's themes. The Pool Players, 7 the Golden Shovel. We are told 7 youths play pool at a pool hall called the Golden Shovel. It might be a real location. Gwendolyn Brooks said her poem was inspired by seeing a group of teenagers hanging out outside a pool hall in her neighborhood on the south side of Chicago. The name Golden Shovel brings 7 connotations, associations, that help us understand the poem's themes. Golden, placed beside shovel, seems contradictory and humorous too. On the surface, the shovel is golden, fancy, expensive, attractive, but it's still something that people use to dig holes, ditches and graves. It may look glitzy and glamorous, but it's still a shovel. Golden suggests it is an alluring place, promising young people glamour, a shovelful of glamour. But what use is a shovel made from gold. The poem hints that the place is of little real use. It might provide them with an education of sorts to be streetwise, but this is not the formal education they need if they are to prosper in the future. The shovel suggests a life of hard physical labour awaits them. Brooks might also be using a sight pun, because if you remove the S in shovel, you get hovel, a type of hut or a shack, basically a dump. The pool hall is nothing more than a joint, despite its grand title. In this way, the poem's subtitle subtly suggests that the reader shouldn't take the speakers at their word, because when they make out they and their lifestyle are cool, we really shouldn't believe a word they say. The speakers are full of big talk. The glamour is surface deep, like a gold painted shovel. And after all, a shovel is still a shovel, however gaudy you may paint it. And their rebellion, for all its surface fun, is still a shovel, helping them dig their own graves. Therefore, death is associated with the shovel, suggesting they will be buried. The title and subtitle therefore link with the poem's last line, the poignant die soon. We'll examine the final line later. In lines 1 to 8, the youths speak to us. Interestingly, instead of one speaker, we have several. In the following lines, they boast what they do. We, the inclusive pronoun, makes them seem like a group, maybe a gang. Repetition and enjambment run-on lines give the lines a flowing sing-song quality, like a chant. It echoes the jazz the poem references on line 7. The series of short, punchy lines, for example, left school, direct but informal, lend the poem energy and a strong rhythm. The teenagers celebrate their transgressions. They boast they're not just cool, but real cool. As readers or listeners, how should we respond to their boastful chants? Should we be appalled, critical, pitying, admiring, or a combination? We appear 7 times, stressing the teenagers' gang-like, close-knit mentality, and that they hold the same outlook on life. The structure suggests that each we is spoken by each one of the youths, as there are 7 of them. It gives the poem performance potential, like a song in a musical, and adds to the piece's musicality. Repeating we on corresponding lines, an example of anaphora, knits the poem together, providing cohesion. Cool suggests the youths are full of bravado and swagger and are boastful. The intensifier real in real cool rather than really hints that they are poorly educated, perhaps by dropping out of school. Line 2 confirms they have left school, either voluntarily or by expulsion. Left can also read to mean they play truant a lot. Whatever the implication, we know this will affect their futures badly. The speakers don't use any connecting or subordinating words to link the sentences in lines 1 and to together. For example, there's no therefore or because. This indicates a lack of formal schooling or a lack of access to the best schools. Or it might be part of their macho personas, talking the talk, I should say, because that's the way they feel they have to talk to give an impression of coolness. This use of parataxis creates a pattern the poem follows throughout, and paradoxically creates a sort of cohesion through this. However, the speakers leave it to the reader or listener to put all these pieces together and make sense of the lines. This lack of grammatical structure in the poem reflects the lack of structure in their lives, except for what hanging around the pool hall brings. It also reflects the gap in their education, growing larger every day now that they have abandoned school. The poem's sounds, however, can help the reader unfold connections that the speaker otherwise leave ambiguous. For instance, the consonant L sounds that appear in real cool and left school suggest that there is a connection to be made here, that the speakers leave school because they think it's the cool thing to do. This is also supported by the assonant oo sounds in cool and school. Lurk late on line 3 suggests the youth stay in the pool hall until late at night. Lurk has associations with loitering, wasting their time, but it also suggests menace because they prowl. Line 4, strike straight, references the pool shots they play, and they boast they are great players. They have spent so long at the Golden Shovel playing pool that they have become skillful players. However, strike suggests violence, to strike out, which makes them appear threatening. It may also indicate the youths play pool to earn money, perhaps hustling money from the others who frequent the joint. Line 4 invites us to question the youth's priorities and what they value. They prefer to become good at playing pool than learn skills that will lead to productive futures. On line 5, sing sin astonishes us. How does one sing sin? Does this line suggest that they sing songs that contain swear words or feature violence? Sin hints that the youths are involved in criminality. However, they are not repentant, but celebrate this tough guy lifestyle. Indeed, they sing, meaning praise, this lifestyle. The sibilance created by the S sounds creates a hissing sound like a snake. It makes them seem dangerous. It reminds us too of the serpent in the Garden of Eden, of Adam and Eve and the first sin. Like the serpent corrupted Adam and Eve, the youth's lifestyle has and continues to corrupt them. This sibilance, the repetition of S sounds in strike, straight and sing, sin, adds to the poem's musicality. Thin gin suggests they dilute the gin they drink to make it last longer so they can stay in the pool hall. It suggests they have little money too. The fact they drink gin, weak or otherwise, is likely illegal as they are underage. It reflects what kind of a place the pool hall is by irresponsibly serving alcohol to minors, and that the youths are on their first steps to criminality. On line 7, jazz is used as a verb. The technical name for this is anthemeria. It is often called nominalization or verbing, as we say to Google or to Hoover. The repetition of J adds to the musicality. Indeed, the poem is rich in musicality, created through strong rhythm and rhyming. For example, each of the poem's sentences is exactly 3 syllables long. All of them start with we. All of the poem's lines, except the last, are enjambed. That is, it has run-on lines. The poem is written in couplets, but the rhymes are internal. Cool and school are perfect rhymes, for example, but they fall inside the line, not at its end. All of these different patterns work with each other to create a syncopated, jazzy rhythm and feel. We can imagine jazz playing from a radio in the pool hall the teeners frequent. So, although the poem doesn't follow a traditional form, such as, say, a sonnet, it has strict rules, and those rules help it sound like a piece of jazz music. Die soon brings the poem to a startling and poignant end. It certainly makes a lasting impression on the readers and the listeners' minds. Die is positioned on the last line, emphasizing finality. It is unclear who speaks this final line. Is it the youths? Likely it is. They know they will die young, but don't care, because all that matters is enjoying the now. In this sense, the poem falls into line with the rich tradition of Carpe Diem poems, seize or harvest the day. Basically, poems that refer to the shortness of life and the need to enjoy life before it's over. However, the narrator might be the voice we hear, the 8th speaker in the poem. She summarizes their lives and short-sightedness. Perhaps she is also mournful at the waste of young lives. Like all great poems, it's left to us to decide. Another interpretation of die argues that we should not take die literally, meaning their premature deaths, and that the poem might be referring to the fleetingness of youth, its ephemerality. Their youthfulness and youthful rebelliousness will soon end, to be replaced by what? One of conformity, respectability, or a lifetime of regret for not studying and gaining qualifications. Brooks, like all great writers, leaves it to us to interpret the ending. Now let's examine the poem's themes. As you probably gathered, the beauty of We Real Cool is that it is open to several interpretations. Firstly, We Real Cool can be interpreted as a poem about youthful rebellion and its costs. The 7 teenagers hanging out outside a pool hall present themselves as rebels who have abandoned school, stayed out late, and invited trouble. The poem also suggests that such rebelliousness has serious costs, that the price of living fast, the poem implies, is to die young. The speakers of We Real Cool stress the ways in which their lives defy social conventions. They have switched off from education and lurk late into the night. They drink alcohol, illegally, and likely fight. They're hardly model citizens. But the speakers are proud of their transgressions. They aren't ashamed to be rebellious or immoral. Instead, they sing sin and jazz June. In other words, they praise and celebrate their behaviour. While the speakers admit that their rebellion has a serious cost, they will die soon, they are wringing every drop of enjoyment out of their time on earth before it inevitably ends. This approach follows, as I said before, the tradition of carpe diem art. However, the obvious conclusion to draw from the poem is the speakers are wasting their lives. Instead of getting an education, preparing to enter the workforce, the world of work, and making a difference in society and to their neighbourhoods, they stay out late, get drunk, and listen to jazz music. When they die, they do so having failed to make an impact on the world or having done anything to improve their lot in life. And this is certainly a waste. We may view the teenager's outlook as short-sighted and self-destructive. Whatever gloss they try to put on their lifestyles is as superficial, as useless as a golden shovel, likely painted gold, not the real metal. This interpretation paints the youth as misguided and lacking judgment, and their values as wrong and misplaced. Yet, the poem suggests that such youthful rebellion may not be entirely in vain. Rebellion is a sort of rite of passage many youths travel through before developing enough maturity to change their ways, or if they don't, to suffer terrible consequences. In this approach to the poem, die soon should not be taken literally. Die may relate to the end of this stage in their lives, as they move on to being young men. However, their prospects appear limited, and we fear for their futures. Therefore, while it is possible to read the poem as a condemnation of the speakers, it can also be read with a hint of envy at those who abandon the path of conformity, obtaining skills, getting a job, seeking a partner and a home, for those who live a life of instant gratification, living in the now and not the future. The youths acknowledge they will die young, but believe that the candle that burns the shortest burns the brightest. The poem thus has a complicated, ambivalent relationship with the rebellious people it describes. On the one hand, the poem celebrates their transgressive attitudes, but on the other, it meditates with pathos and sincerity on the way that youthful rebellion can cut lives short. There is a political angle too. For Brooks, writing at the height of the American civil rights movement, this kind of rebellion and the questioning it hopes to inspire is likely connected with the struggle for black civil rights. Though the delinquent figures she describes aren't presented as social justice leaders, the poet may be saying this rebelliousness could be put to better end by challenging injustice and inequality. The education these boys abandon is a crucial tool in helping win this struggle. To abandon education like these youths do, a right many black people were fighting and dying for, seems doubly wasteful. When interviewed, Gwendolyn Brooks discussed her poem's origins. It is based on her witnessing such youths shooting pool in a pool hall in June. She says that her use of jazz, which created a fuss in some quarters because of its sexual connotations and led to calls to ban her work, did not have, in fact, any sexual connotations, but she was referring to jazz music. However, she did say it was not her intention, but she had no objection if it helped anybody. Many poets rarely talk about their work, but it is refreshing to hear Brooks candidly explain We Real Cool's origins. Please follow the link I've provided below for more information and to hear her read this wonderful piece. And Gwendolyn Brooks's discussion is revealing. It shows that sometimes we may interpret poems in ways the poets never intended. However, this is not a bad thing. The interpretations we bring add further layers of meaning, thus enriching the poem. In this sense, once the poem is shared with the world, the poet no longer owns the poem. They have shared it with us to make what we will of it, and our interpretations, provided they are reasonable and can be supported by the text, are valid. This poem is a shining example of how writing can be a springboard to provoke thought and reflection. Gwendolyn Brooks is one of the most influential and widely read 20th century American poets. The author of more than 20 books, she was highly regarded even during her lifetime and was the first black poet to win the Pulitzer Prize. She was also the first black woman to hold the role of consultant in poetry at the Library of Congress, a position now referred to as the Poet Laureate Consultant in Poetry. Although We Real Cool was first published in her 1960 collection, The Bean Eaters, its themes are universal and as relevant today as then. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it informative and helpful. If you did, please hit the like button below. Also, check out my other videos I've made on analysis and creative writing. I'm always adding videos, so to be updated when another one lands, please hit the button below. Also, if you haven't yet subscribed, I would greatly appreciate it if you did. It helps me make more videos and make them more frequently. If you feel this video has added value to your studies or literature appreciation, please consider sending me a super thanks. You can also share a coffee with me. The links are below. Please add feedback, a comment or a question. Until next time, write well.